Hey everyone, it's TechStrong TV. I'm Alan Schimmel. Welcome to the show. Today is Tuesday, November 17th. Man, we're cruising through. We're a week before Thanksgiving, a week out from Thanksgiving here in the U.S. Unfortunately, COVID numbers are going through the roof. 10,000 today just here in Florida, or yesterday just here in Florida, and we're edging up towards 200,000 cases in the U.S. a day, 1,500 dead a day. It's terrible. The good news is we've got two, looks like highly effective vaccines in the pipeline, and they can't get out there soon enough for people. It's important you stay strong, stay diligent. Don't let this fatigue take you out of this right before the end game, right before the end zone. So good luck to you all, but please stay safe. Wear a mask, wash your hands, stay socially distanced. We've got a good show for you to watch today while you're home alone. We've got Dan Garfield from CodeFresh, and they just launched something called GitOps 2.0, which I think is going to be pretty amazing. GitOps, Weaveworks originally started it. Cornelia Davis and the gang there, and just great stuff going on. So Dan's going to tell us about GitOps 2.0. Then we have William Morgan, the CEO of Buoyant. Buoyant, of course, with the people behind Linkerd. It's now part of CNCF. Buoyant still remains, is a large contributor of code and keeper of the flame there. William's going to tell us about what to expect in this new version of Linkerd, which is 2.9. Then we have a DevOps Unbound roundtable. This is a roundtable run that we did back, I want to say in August or September. It's how to coordinate all the elements of DevOps, of enterprise DevOps, with different cultures, application stacks, compliance requirements, etc. It was open to a live audience with questions. I think you're really going to like it. And if you like that kind of stuff, we have a DevOps Unbound roundtable coming up live this week. If you check on devops.com/webinars, and you could sign up for that and participate in that one with us. So we'd love to have you on there. After that, though, we're going to turn things over to Charlene O'Hanlon, our managing editor, chief content officer. Charlene has the news as well as a webinar preview of what we've got in store this week, news around the MediaOps site, and an interview with Guy Escanot of Bridge Crew. Guy's VP of product there, and Charlene's going to talk with him about security challenges and risks associated with infrastructure as code. After that, we're going to go over to the Analyst Corner with Mitch, where Mitch has an interview with Mark Smalley of Smalley IT, lead editor with Axelos of the IDLE 4 High Velocity. They joined Mitch to discuss what's in IDLE 4. Great discussion. Check that out. And then we have a double barrel of the channel roundup with Mike Vizard today. Mike's first guest is AppDynamic and Thousand Eye. Chief Product Officer is Vipul Shah from Thousand Eyes, and Joe Vaccaro, head of product. Excuse me, I got that mixed up. Joe Vaccaro is head of product at Thousand Eyes. Vipul Shah is Chief Product Officer at AppDynamic. So do check that one. And then Mike also has a great interview with the folks at Portworx. Michael Ferranti, Vice President of Product and Corporate Marketing for Portworx. So thank you, Mike, for that. And then I'll be back to close things up. Just another great day here in the neighborhood for TechStrong TV. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with our first guest. Up first today is my friend Dan Garfield from CodeFresh. I feel like CodeFresh has grown up right before our eyes here on TechStrong TV. Today they launched GitOps 2.0. It's a major release for CodeFresh, but it's not just about CodeFresh. It's about everyone playing in the GitOps ecosystem. So here's my interview with Dan Garfield.
This is Digital Anarchist.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here. Another segment for TechStrong TV. Our guest this segment is my friend Dan Garfield, coming back to us from CodeFresh. Hey Dan, welcome back.
Thanks. Glad to be back.
You know, CodeFresh has been making a lot of noise lately, a lot of waves in the market, and that's good. It's good for a couple of reasons, but one of them is we get to see you and hear more. So thanks for joining us. What's the big news at CodeFresh to share with us, Dan?
So the big news that we just came out with was the launch of GitOps 2.0, which is essentially a standard and also some tooling that is aimed at mainstreaming GitOps and making it the de facto deployment method, which is sort of the trend that we've been seeing with cloud native deployments especially. So we really want to solve a lot of the issues that have existed in GitOps today with this new release.
Absolutely. And you know, so Dan, GitOps is GitOps as a concept is something that I think our audience is really familiar with. I think GitOps as a practice is something that has been maybe a little bit balkanized by some of the CI/CD players, and not just the CI/CD players, mind you. The testing people who are building testing into the Git kind of stage, security folks, observability, right? All of it is people are focusing because Git's where the action is, right? So when we talk about GitOps, you know, there's this overarching, anything that takes place while code or an app is in Git is GitOps, right? And you can't argue with that. But when you talk about GitOps, what do you mean?
Well, so GitOps is really the goal of it is that you will have definitions and configuration defined in Git, and that the way that your applications run and your infrastructure runs should tend to coincide with that. And so the questions that have existed around GitOps have traditionally been, how do I handle secrets? How do I handle rollups between multiple environments? Do I need to have 1,000 Git repos, one for every environment that I'm managing, or is there another way to do it? And one of the biggest issues has actually been around observability. So people don't necessarily see what's happening, where it's happening. You can see what's in Git. You have an expectation that that's reflected in production, but maybe there's not a clear line between that. And it also doesn't account for the other parts of the development process. Like we have JIRA tickets that are getting solved. There are pull requests we're dealing with. So what we really wanted to do is with GitOps 2.0, we're really looking forward to let's engage with the community. Let's try to figure out what these standards should be. Let's try to make sure that we have really good, robust best practices, very easy and repeatable patterns that are going to work well for everybody, and a well-worn path that's easy to follow. And so we're releasing the first components of that on the CodeFresh platform, which are essentially around observability. So the ability to see what's happening across multiple environments, multiple applications, what's being deployed, what JIRA tickets have been released now, what pull requests are we dealing with, and to bring that all into a clear, focused view so that your development process, your deployment process is straightforward, it's reliable, it's fast. And this actually started internally. We had this at CodeFresh where maybe we would release a regression and people would get on Slack and start shouting, hey, who's been deploying stuff? What's going on? And that really drove us to sharpen our product around GitOps, because what we could do is essentially float all of this information up, because we're aware of the builds, we're aware of the commits, we're aware of the JIRA tickets, we're aware of the deployments, all the environments. And so now if there was an issue, instead of just blowing up Slack, we could actually just go in and see, oh, here's where the issue's happening. Here's the release that was just done. I can go and do a rollback, or I know exactly what commits were in there. I know exactly where this regression comes from. And that's actually a huge part of what keeps people from deploying more often, because they don't have confidence that they can actually identify very, very quickly where a potential issue would arise, in addition to just making sure that the automation takes care of as many issues as possible before the release happens. So in order for people to deploy faster and more frequently and to be more successful, they have to have also not only the automation, but the confidence and the visibility in the entire process.
Absolutely. And in my mind, here's the real bottom line. It's got to live somewhere, right? It can't live in some ether kind of thing, right? It's got to live somewhere. Git's the place for it to live. Got to ask a business question, though, for you on that, though. So when we look at the rise of GitOps and now GitOps 2.0 from CodeFresh, does it inherently give the GitHubs and GitLabs a leg up on a CodeFresh, let's say? Or does CodeFresh, I don't care what Git you use, we work fine in it, right? And underlying both GitHub, GitLab, and every other Git something out there is Git itself, which is the same Git open source that's been available now for, I think it's 15 years. Maybe it's 10, but whatever.
So the Git providers in some ways do benefit from the GitOps movement, but really what we're looking at is the process of how that software is released and deployed. And that always entails automation. And that's where CodeFresh shines, right? We are a DevOps automation platform designed for Kubernetes, designed for cloud native applications. And so this is where a lot of the rubber meets the road. And to give you an example of a typical workflow, this is a pattern that we're promoting and one that we see our customers using quite frequently, is they will check in code to an application repo. This will fire off a CodeFresh pipeline, which will generate and modify the actual manifests that need to be deployed into Kubernetes or potentially serverless or whatever. And then the automation actually opens up the pull request onto the repo where the infrastructure configuration is stored. And that triggers, again, a testing process that goes through and does deployment. And then once you deploy something, you have to be able to test it. So that means you need automation, right? So again, you're back into your DevOps platform that's performing that, your CI/CD platform. And then finally, the pull request is merged, potentially automatically, sometimes manually, sometimes there's approval processes. And then, of course, the deployment happens directly. And then everything is tracked and put into a dashboard where you can see exactly what's going on, what's deployed, what Jira issues were on it, what pull requests were on it, how many committers. And sometimes even if you squash a commit, you'll be able to see all that data and information across, the application and the infrastructure. So there is a benefit to the Git providers, but it's not like there was any system under which we weren't going to cement Git or the source code management as critical in the process. It has to be. And actually, it's really great